The Great Giggly Goose Chase. Once upon a time in the quirky town of Topsy-Turvyville, there lived a goose named Giggles. Giggles wasn't like any ordinary goose. He had the most infectious laugh that could make anyone giggle along with him. His laugh was so funny that even the grumpiest of grumps couldn't help but chuckle. One sunny morning, Giggles decided to go on an adventure to spread laughter all around Topsy-Turvyville. As he waddled down the cobblestone streets, he met a squirrel named Nutty who was trying to bury his acorns. "Hey, Nutty! Why did the squirrel sit on the tree?" Giggles asked with a twinkle in his eye. "I don't know. Why?" Nutty replied, scratching his head. "To keep his nuts in a bunch." Giggles honked out, bursting into laughter. Nutty tried to hold it in, but soon he was rolling on the ground, laughing uncontrollably. As Giggles continued his journey, he met a pig named Oinky who was trying to build a mud castle. "Hi, Oinky! What do you get when you cross a pig and a centipede?" Giggles asked. Oinky looked puzzled. "I have no idea. What?" "Bacon and legs!" Giggles laughed, and Oinky started snorting with laughter, splashing mud everywhere. Next, Giggles waddled over to the Topsy-Turvyville school, where the children were having a very serious math lesson. Mr. Prunell, the strict teacher, didn't like any interruptions, but Giggles had an idea. "Hey, kids, why was the math book sad?" Giggles asked from the window. The children turned around, curious. "Why?" they all asked in unison. "Because it had too many problems." Giggles honked. The classroom erupted in laughter, and even Mr. Prunell couldn't help but smile. Giggles was so happy seeing everyone laugh that he decided to visit the town's mayor, Mr. Sternface. Now Mr. Sternface was known for never laughing. Giggles took this as a challenge. "Good afternoon, Mr. Sternface. Why don't scientists trust atoms?" Giggles asked confidently. Mr. Sternface raised an eyebrow. "I give up. Why?" "Because they make up everything!" Giggles burst out laughing. For a moment, Mr. Sternface's face remained stern. But then, slowly but surely, a smile crept across his face and he started to laugh. From that day on, Topsy-Turvyville was known as the happiest town in the world, all thanks to a little goose named Giggles, who knew that laughter truly was the best medicine. And whenever you visit Topsy-Turvyville, don't be surprised if you hear a familiar honking laugh that makes you giggle, because Giggles is still there, spreading joy and laughter wherever he goes. The end. In the quirky little town of Topsy-Turvyville, where houses stood on their roofs and trees grew upside down, there lived a goose named Giggles. Giggles wasn't your ordinary goose. He had a knack for telling the funniest, silliest, and most side-splitting jokes. His beak was always curved into a cheerful smile, and his feathers were as white as a fluffy cloud on a summer day. Every morning, Giggles would waddle out of his little topsy-turvy house, ready to bring laughter to every corner of the town. He'd honk, honk, honk. Who's ready for a giggle? One bright and sunny day, Giggles decided to embark on a special adventure. He had heard that Mayor Muddle, the mayor of Topsy-Turvyville, was feeling a bit blue. No one had seen him smile in days, and that just wouldn't do in such a silly town. Giggles knew exactly what he had to do. He would make Mayor Muddle laugh. With a spring in his step, Giggles set off to the town square, where he found a group of children playing hopscotch in the air. Because in Topsy-Turvyville, even hopscotch defied gravity. "Hey, kids, what do you call a goose who loves jokes?" Giggles asked, his eyes twinkling. The children shrugged, giggling already. "A silly goose," Giggles honked, and the children burst into laughter, falling into a pile of giggles on the ground. Giggles continued on his way, telling jokes to everyone he met. He told Mr. Twizzle, the upside-down baker, "Why did the cookie go to the doctor? Because it felt crummy." Mr. Twizzle laughed so hard, he accidentally baked a pie upside down. Giggles then waddled over to the town's musician, Fiddle the cat, who was strumming his fiddle in a tree. "Why don't cats play poker in the jungle?" Giggles asked. Fiddle tilted his head, curious. "Why?" "Too many cheetahs." Giggles honked, and Fiddle nearly fell out of the tree, laughing so much that he played the happiest tune Topsy-Turvyville had ever heard. Finally, Giggles reached the mayor's office. Mayor Muddle was sitting at his desk, looking as gloomy as a rainy day in the middle of a circus parade. Giggles knocked on the door, then honked loudly. "Knock, knock." Mayor Muddle raised an eyebrow. "Who's there?" "Goose," Giggles replied. "Goose who?" the mayor asked, a small smile starting to form. "Goose who loves making you laugh. Mr. Mayor." Giggles honked, and before Mayor Muddle could respond, Giggles continued with another joke. "Why did the goose sit on the clock?" Mayor Muddle was intrigued. "Why?" "Because it wanted to be on time, but it couldn't stop quacking up," Giggles said with a wink. Mayor Muddle couldn't hold it in any longer. He burst into laughter, his hearty chuckles filling the office and echoing through the town square. "Well, Giggles," Mayor Muddle said, wiping a tear from his eye, "you've done it. You've made me laugh harder than I've laughed in years. Topsy-Turvyville needs more Giggles like you." Giggles felt his chest puff up with pride. "Honk! Honk! My pleasure, Mr. Mayor." From that day on, Giggles the Goose became the official jester of Topsy-Turvyville. Every week, he'd perform in the town square, telling jokes that had everyone from kids to grown-ups giggling and guffawing. And so, in the topsy-turvy town where nothing was quite as it seemed, there was always one thing you could count on. Giggles the Goose would be there, making sure everyone was quacking up with laughter, no matter what. The end. In a meadow by the stream so clear, lived Giggles the Goose, full of cheer. His feathers were white, his beak was bright, and his laughter echoed day and night. One fine day, as he waddled along, he heard a sound. It was all wrong. A grumpy frog named Fred was there, with a frown so big it was hard to bear. "Why so glum?" asked Giggles with glee. "Let me tell you a joke, and you'll see." Fred sighed and said, "What's the point?" "I'm sad. Nothing's funny and everything's bad." But Giggles just grinned and said with delight, "Why don't ducks tell jokes when they fly at night?" Fred shrugged his shoulders, feeling so blue. "They'd quack up too much, that's why they do." Fred's frown wobbled, his lips twitched tight, but he still held on, with all his might. So Giggles thought hard. What more could he do? Then he said, "Why are frogs so good at kung fu?" Fred's curiosity got the best of him. Then he croaked, "Why?" with a hint of a grin. "Because they can jump kicks, oh so high." Giggles giggled, and so did the sky. Fred couldn't help it. He laughed out loud, the grumpiness fading, no longer so proud. "You're funny, Giggles. I have to agree, but laughing won't solve my problem, you see." Giggles sat down, his laughter at rest. "What's wrong, dear Fred? Just tell me your quest." Fred sighed and croaked, "I'm slow and I'm small. I never win races. I trip and I fall." Giggles nodded, his mind working quick. Then he said, "I've got it. A plan that'll stick. Let's work together. I'll help you train. You'll hop faster than wind through sunshine and rain." So they practiced each day, from dawn to dusk, Giggles encouraged with jokes that were a must. Why did the goose join the band? He'd say, "To play his honker sax all day." Fred laughed and hopped. His speed grew fast. He learned to smile and have a blast. When race day came, he gave it his all. With Giggles beside him, he answered the call. Fred didn't win first, but he didn't care. He learned to enjoy, to laugh, and to share. Giggles the Goose had taught him well that laughter and joy are a magical spell. So now Fred's no longer grumpy or sad. He's learned that life isn't all that bad. With a friend like Giggles, who'd never let go, he found that laughter helps you grow. And as they waddled home, side by side, Fred knew he'd never lose his pride. For the greatest lesson that he could see was that laughter and friendship set you free